The last thing I want to show you is how these different pencil types behave when we're entering notes. They behave differently when we're entering automation, which I'll show you later. Let me clear this out. I will select all, Command A, hit backspace, and you'll notice I only cleared my electric piano. I did not clear my organ. Select all. So we start with the pencil tool. Let me enter 4 notes. Okay, notice the velocity is all one level. It's whatever I set here. It's 10. Again, if I set it to 127, it would be different. Those were all set to 127. Okay, Control A or Command A and backspace. Now let's look at the line tool. The line tool lets me enter a bunch of notes at the same velocity at the same pitch. So it's quicker than just adding one at a time. If I do that with the freehand tool, it creates one long note. If I do it with the line tool, whatever my grid is set to, let's set it to quarter note, when I drag, I get repeated quarter notes at that pitch. Okay, delete all that. So let's see what the triangle tool does. You think it makes pitches go up and down like a triangle? Not really. Let me set my velocity to 60, and now let me drag across. Well, on the surface, it looks like it did the same thing as the line tool, but take a look at the velocities. They go up and down like a triangle wave. The triangle tool lets me draw in multiple notes at my grid value, but the velocity scales up and down between the default velocity, in this case 60, and the top velocity, which is 127. So let's see what happens when we set the velocity, the default velocity, to 1 and use the triangle tool and draw in some notes. You'll see that the velocities go from 1 up to 127 and back again in the shape of a triangle. So what do you think happens when we use this square pencil tool? The velocities alternate between the lowest value, in this case 1, and the highest value. If I put in 60 there, it goes between 60 and 127. Next is the random tool. And that puts in random velocities. Every time you do it, a different set of velocities down below. Now the parabolic and the S-curve pencil tools are only useful when you're entering tempo information, which we'll cover later. So you basically have the freehand tool, which enters one note as long as you hold the mouse down and at whatever velocity is specified as the default velocity. The line tool enters a bunch of notes at your grid setting, all at the same velocity, again your default velocity. And then triangle and square, which alternate between the default velocity and 127, either scaling up and down like the triangle or alternating on and off like the square. And then random, which puts notes in at a random velocity. All of these tools, line, triangle, square, and random, are based on your grid setting. So again, if my grid is 64th note, it puts in 64th notes. And if my grid is set to bars, it will put in bars. So that's the pencil tool. An awful lot we can do with it in the MIDI editor, and we'll learn some other ways of editing MIDI in the next lesson.